except the king, who could think of nothing but his queen, and he was a prey to the deepest grief and melancholy during the whole journey. When he approached the capital of Persia, he perceived the Sultan Shahryar and all his court coming out to greet him. As soon as the parties met, the two brothers alighted and embraced each other, and after 1,000 expressions of regard, remounted and entered the city amid the shouts of the multitude. The Sultan there conducted the king his brother to a palace which had been prepared for him. This palace communicated by a garden with the Sultan's own, and was even more magnificent, as it was the spot where all the fetes and splendid entertainments of the court were given. Shahryar left the king of Tartary in order that he might bathe and change his dress, but immediately on his return from the bath went to him again. They seated themselves on a sofa and conversed till supper time. After so long a separation, they seemed even more united by affection than by blood. They ate supper together, and then continued their conversation, till Shahryar, perceiving the night far advanced, left his brother to repose. The unfortunate Shah Zinan retired to his couch. But if in the presence of the Sultan he had for a while forgotten his grief, it now returned with doubled force. Every circumstance of the Queen's death arose to his mind and kept him awake, and left such a look of sorrow on his face that next morning the Sultan could not fail to notice it. He did all in his power to show his continued love and affection, and sought to amuse his brother with the most splendid entertainments, but the gayest fetes served only to increase Shah Zinan's melancholy. One morning, when Shahryar had given orders for a grand hunting party at the distance of 2 days' journey from the city, Shah Zinan requested permission to remain in his palace on account of a slight illness. The Sultan, wishing to please him, consented, but he himself went with all his court to partake of the sport. The king of Tartary was no sooner alone than he shut himself up in his apartment and gave way to his sorrow. But as he sat thus grieving at the open window, looking out upon the beautiful garden of the palace, he suddenly saw the Sultana, the beloved wife of his brother, meet a man in the garden, with whom she held an affectionate conversation. Upon witnessing this interview, Shah Zinan determined that he would no longer give way to such inconsolable grief for a misfortune which came to other husbands as well as to himself. He ordered supper to be brought, and ate with a better appetite than he had before done since leaving Samarcand. He even enjoyed the fine concert performed while he sat at table. Shahryar returned from the hunt at the close of the 2nd day, and was delighted at the change which he soon found had taken place in his brother. He urged him to explain the cause of his former depression and of his present joy. The king of Tartary, feeling it his duty to obey his suzerain lord, related the story of his wife's misconduct and of the severe punishment which he had visited on her. Shahryar expressed his full approval of his brother's conduct. "I own," he said, "had I been in your place, I should have been less easily satisfied. I should not have been contented to take away the life of one woman, but should have sacrificed 1,000 to my resentment. Your fate surely is most singular. Since, however, it has pleased God to afford you consolation, which I am sure is as well founded as was your grief, inform me, I beg, of that also." Shah Zinan was very reluctant to relate what he had seen, but at last yielded to the urgent commands and entreaties of his brother, and told him of the faithlessness of his own queen. At this unexpected news, the rage and grief of Shahryar knew no bounds. He far exceeded his brother in his invectives and indignation. Not only did he sentence to death his unhappy sultana, but bound himself by a solemn vow that immediately on the departure of the king his brother he would marry a new wife every night and command